Hi, my name is Valerie. I'm a licensed professional counselor in private practice since 2006, working with energy sensitives and experiencers of higher consciousness, near death, out of body, spiritual, and other kinds of multidimensional states. As a lifelong spiritual experiencer myself, I turned to quantum physics even back in the 80s to understand my own phenomena. Here in part two of the multi-part series, Nature of Reality and Quantum Consciousness, quantum physicist Anirban Bandyopadhyay and I continue our discussion on the non-local nature of mind. He clarifies why using terms like fractal and holographic are inadequate in our theories attempting to explain consciousness. He emphasizes the need for science to accept undefinedness, infinity, and arbitrariness as fundamental, and justifies the importance of going beyond space, 3D time, geometry, prime numbers, and into infinity as we try to glimpse the fundamental nature of reality, consciousness, and the universe. Take a listen as we pick up where we left off in part one, talking about multidimensionality and the characteristic of distinctness that defines each dimension of reality.
One apple, I add two apple. Oh, I go higher level. So I have three apples. No, your higher level could be an orange or could be a pineapple. So it could be a fundamentally very different thing than the other part. The next thing that I would take um, is undefinedness, infinity, um, and imaginary, hmm, arbitrary, all these kind of concepts. These are kind of very vague in the Western world, but very fundamental in the Vedic science. So very, very fundamental. For an example, I would like to start with Ramanujan's infinite series because that is so fundamental. Always in the Western world, in the literature, you will find they write that how he used to create those kind of infinite series. So goddess Kali, as Ramanujan said, goddess Kali comes to his dream in the night, and in the morning he could write down those equations. So he never had any proof. He never derived anything. He just wrote. He just wrote, and many of his infinite series equations are still needs to be proved. So I'm saying that there has been a culture for thousands of years of dealing with infinite series because you are not defining anything. In the Vedic wisdom, there is no absolute truth, right? So you have always infinite series, and then they call it projection to infinity and getting feedback from infinity. Like you want to add the integers. We all learned this in the school days. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 dot 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 up to infinity. It will be an astronomical number. It could be so big we can call it say infinity. The add, if you term, it is so big number. But it turns out that if you take 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus dot 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 dot, dot up to infinity, it will be minus 1 by 12. So Ramanujan showed that, and it is widely used. But when you go into the infinite series, you experience something so profound reality about the nature and the universe. And that is very essential to bring it back. Because you all know, because Indian knowledge system that went to the West and it got westernized, it got factual, and then came back. And then now in India, we are teaching Indian wisdom in the light of the Western. And then when we grow up, we are seven, like Sattva, Raja, Tama. These are the three qualities that are fundamental to construct the universe. Okay, so three properties of Brahman. Brahman is the most fundamental mechanical vibrations that is composing and harmonizing everything. So we want to add three qualities, and those three qualities will combine together and create 23 different complexities, 23 different kind of fundamental elements more, and then they will compose others. So there is at least 4,000 or 5,000 years of history how this sattva, raja, tama, three different fundamental properties, they were combining and creating derivatives. Even in the 14th century, you will find some more definitions by Bigyan Bhikshu in India when he was writing and scholarly discussions. So the understanding is something like tama means bonding. So you want to bind, any kind of bind attraction. For an example, male-female attraction, our attraction to money, our attraction to say luxury house, so everything. So this bond, this attachment, this comes tama. Okay, so this is kind of a bonding. Say Q1, Q2 by R square, where Q1 and Q2 are charges of different entities. Then the attractive force, and then attraction, repulsion are the same thing. Okay, so it's just like other side of the sphere. So the Rajaguna is transformation. A triangle becomes a square. A square becomes a pentagon. So when you have this kind of transitions into many different possibilities, where you change your fundamental nature within one dimension significantly, and then it's a Rajaguna. And when you have a projection, because you have many different dimensions, so you project to the infinity and take the feedback like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 dot 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 infinity, and from the infinity I'm getting the feedback -1 by 12. That is sattva guna. So we call it sattvic, and then we change our food, our habit, our race, our culture accordingly. So why is it important in our life to understand nature, to live a proper life and a truthful life, and to explore nature? Why do we need to know this infinite series? Because it gives us the true picture of the reality. So 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus dot 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 dot. If you go and if you saw the temple structure in my book, and if you see first triplet is born after 12. So you need 12 units to find that first triplet. And you see that when Hindus were discovering the number system was not created just to have calculation for money, not the calculation, not the counting. It was never created for that. It was a fundamental part of the religious practice, of the religious system of understanding of nature. They were assigning properties to this fundamental universe. So I would like to tell your audience that how this came. So I write in Medium channel about it, and continuously I'm writing. So zero, when it went, when Arab or Middle East, those people who are in direct contact with the Hindus, then they learned the mathematics from us, and then Europeans learned from Arabic. So that's why European people call it Arabic numerals, and Arabic people called it Indesta. So because they learned it from Hindus. So we were known as Hindus, so they learned. So when the knowledge passed, it didn't pass properly. So the way we write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, our digits have changed. So the way you write, say 8, we write 4 like that. So Arabs did not learn properly from us, and they wrote the book, they conveyed it to us. But when Europeans learned, they also didn't learn properly. They also changed the digits. And right now, when we write in English, because we consider that learning in India, learning English is what is civilization, what the Europeans or white skinned people will do. You have to copy it, so become civilized. So So we are taught English system as the civilized one. So we are brainwashed from our childhood. Like that slavery mentality has not gone. I mean, I must say that if you can see in the media, I see my foreign friends or Europe or America, they point out the slavery attitude or slavery mentality. The whole nation has this kind of thing. Of course, I mean, there would be, because for 1,000 years it was under slavery. So, uh, so how this numbers came? So zero is nothing when it went to the West, but the zero is actually everything. So I said that you have to complete the circle. So completeness means purna. So I would like to recite a hymn that is uh, several thousands years back. I mean, it's a pre-Vedic era, I mean, Rig Vedic era. Rig Veda is the kind of oldest of all different knowledges. So and they said, Punnamada Punnamidam Punnata Punnamudachyate Punnasya Punnamadaya Punnaveve Vashishyate. So this hymn actually says zero, if it is complete, if you take completeness, 0 minus 0, you get completeness, 0. Isn't this beautiful? So something that is complete and everything in the universe, if you take out completeness, a part of the completeness out of it, exactly what you said at the beginning of this interview. hmm? Uh, I'm just repeating it, that that how we get. So it's a completeness. Completeness. I take the completeness out, 0 minus 0. I get the completeness. So whole is in a, even in every single part. So whole is in a part that is in the West. But you know what is its origin? Origin is a very ancient knowledge, that is Jat Pindate Tat Brahmande. Jat Brahmande Tat Pindate. Brahmanda is the universe, Pinda is the point. So you inside a point, the whole universe exists. So
I
where
love
there is
that.
a point, there is the universe. And where there is a universe, even if you go to the outer rim of the whole universe, that will be an undefined point.
Well, I
That's
love
why
so much about what you're bringing up, and especially the zero never was meant to be nothing. It was meant to be everything.
then
And I
one
love
has a,
that.
yeah, one has a physical significance, two has a physical significance, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Why did they stop at 9? Why did not they put alpha-like sign? The person who was creating this, suppose you are an inventor and you are creating, say, integers. Okay, today in a fine, nice morning, I take the breakfast and I decide that, okay, I will create some numbers. Let's do it. That's kind of our view that how numbers were invented. No, why did they stop at 9? Why didn't they put alpha, beta, gamma, and then 10? Why 10 coming up? And in the 10, they write 1 and put a 0 with it. Why? What was the necessity? Like Romans, they were much better. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, and different integers. But if you look at that, you can't do mathematics with that. Never. The integer system that was there in all over the world, there was never lack of integer system. Everybody had to count. So all over the world, you find integer systems existing. I mean, different ways, like the Romans. We always say Roman numerals, they are not very scientific something. Okay, how about African numerals? They also need numerals. In Latin America, they also invented numerals. In Chinese or Russian, every region, they were making some tools for counting. But they couldn't develop mathematics. Why? Because they were not limiting them until a certain digit, and then understood the periodicity, the cyclicness of the universe. That particular philosophy where universe is born and then die, universe is born and die, born and die, a very particular quality of raja, that is a transformation from one geometric shape, symmetry, to another one, that is only left, and that is called Vishnu's Ananta Sajja. So you will find that Bhagavan Vishnu is kind of lying down on a water. You can find in Southeast Asia in many places. In India, most of the places it is destroyed. In South India, you can find one or two places we have that. But in Southeast Asia, where Hinduism was much, much more profound, and even after Islamic invasion, they preserved it. So if you want to see the Vishnu's Ananta Satya, you can see there. So it say that Vishnu lies for many millions of years in the transition period, because I said you have to take a circle, but don't complete the circle. A part of the circle, make it shadow is dark, that is undefined, that you need to do. And that is very much essential to build up the science where undefinedness is everywhere. So like the question, who am I? This is Anirban. Who is Anirban? This hand? No. This one? No. This slang? No. I can go to every single one that inside and inside and inside and inside. I will never find Anirban in it. Never. So I go inside and inside, within and above. This transition has to be brought in, not linear. So I have argued in my book in the first chapter here, so that you can't bring in, and you can't define. So identity, who am I, is most important. That's why completeness was there. So the one concept came. And how Indians used to write one? Indians used to write a circle, and like a logarithmic spiral, it is going inside, inside, and inside. That's how I wrote in my Bengali. So now we are teaching our kids to hate our culture, to disrespect, and then learn English way of writing, like a one line. Why this line, this vertical line? Because in the Roman, you have 1, 2, 3. After that, it was kind of lines and some symbols came. But when Hindus write, why do they write a circle is trying to convert like a logarithmic style to a single point? You can understand that a completeness is there. But if you try to go inside and within, you have to reach it to the point. The transition is always from a point, or jat pindate tat brahmande. So in the point to the whole, and whole to the point. That is what is your identity. So that's why one concept of one came, and we wrote like this, just to tell you that completeness is not enough. You need to understand the duality of a single point and the circle, whole and the part. So this one, once it comes, the one comes, now the concept is, who will prove? You need an observer. So that's why when we write 2, we have a circle that is coming up, and then you cross over and try to bend it back. So tracing the same path in a reverse direction. So that's the observation. So I am observing means what I'm doing. I am seeing myself or my observations from a different perspective from my back. That is always observation. Me, I am Anirban. How could I say that? As you said at the beginning of our conversation, I have to go outside myself and then look at back at myself. So we write 2 like that. So there is a special way of taking circles and changing it into a geometric shape to give the numbers a pictorial meaning. So that's what they did. And if you see 1, 2, and then when you come to 3, you will find that we have 1 loop, another loop, and then going back. So you can understand that there is a whole is there. So that is everything, the whole universe. And then someone says you need a point and the whole, this duality, but somebody has to confirm. That's why 1 came. 2 came because somebody has to confirm that. So you complete the circle and then go back to reverse trace it to say that, okay, yes, you exist. So 1 is I exist, but somebody would confirm me, you exist. But if you want to have a consciousness, then you need the third observer, the third one. The third concept is what? That both are seeing each other, and you are the third one. You can say, okay, you exist, then he doesn't. So if there is a dual interaction, otherwise you can't. The physical reality comes from the interaction of two bodies. The third one is the observer who confirms it. The three together is the unit of consciousness. Is the unit of consciousness. Now you can understand that I am the observer. There is a dual conversation between Jatpindate Tat Brahmande, the point to universe, this duality, and then reflecting back and observing it back and forth in a feedback loop. You go clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, anti-clockwise. That's how we write two. In three, what we do, one, we complete one loop, then another loop, and then try to go back. So two is embedded, the way we write two is embedded in another loop or service. So when one was trying to come back to a single point, one was trying to come back in a single point, two was observing it, we combine them together and make the fundamental observer and complete the unity of consciousness. That's why you will find everywhere in Hinduism, Shiva has three eyes. So it has to be three, always, always three. But how do you create a practical, real consciousness? If you want to do that, then you have to observe the triangle. So a triangle you have, and each corner you put a triangle. So how many points you get? 3 into 3, 9. Initial triangle doesn't exist. So if there is something, consciousness, you want to build an independent system, the completeness comes from a triangle, and each point a triangle, because each triangle is actually observer, observed, and the universe. Observer, observed, and the observer, observed, and the universe. And then you observe a triangle, another system, a hierarchical system. So that's why the concept of consciousness, journey to understand the consciousness, ends with 9. So triplet of triplet is 9. So that's why in the protein vibrations, we observe triplet of triplet. That's why I make it cover page of my book, that triplet of triplet is profound everywhere in the universe. And wherever you see vibration in the time scale, you can see its reflection. And that's why after 9 completes, then they say 1, 0. That means the first completeness is done. So you cannot have anything more. So 1 and 0. So you say the completeness that was there, it completes one unit. So your consciousness journey, triplet of triplet, ends with 9. Of course, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all of them have a different physical significance. But I do not want to take much more time, because we have to cover many different grounds. But I just wanted to tell that how the number system got invented. And inside the number system, you are worshipping a particular fundamental philosophy. And you are trying to see the universe. You are trying to define consciousness. So to define consciousness, you do not have to have a big complex equation, mathematical equation. You can have just a piece of paper on a geometric shape, and then you can tell what you want to say. So when you are doing mathematics, when you are doing mathematics of 0, for an example, 0 by 0, we say indeterminate. We teach it our little kids. What does it mean? From 0, how many times you can take 0? That means completeness. If 0 to 0, if it is nothing, then it cannot have any physical significance. But if 0 is everything, completeness, and there is completeness, 0 by 0, completeness by completeness, how many times I can take? Once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, as many times as I want. So it becomes arbitrary number. So your free will is there. So if you take 0 minus 0 at any time, 0 plus 0, if there is a complete knowledge, if it is completeness, the whole, if you add another whole, it remains the whole.
Well, what I love about so much of what you're saying is not only are you trying to get everybody to stop the limited thinking, we're definitely hearing you describe in many ways multidimensionality, but also that whole idea of David Bohm, when he first said that the universe is a hologram. And then the psychologist Carl Pribram said, yeah, you're not going to find memory or Anirban, or, it's not in the brain. It's not in a
Yeah.
thing. And he said, well, memory is more in the spectral region. And then more recently, I think it was Peter Marcer, who was discussing the neuron as quantum holography. And then astronaut Edgar Mitchell came up with the quantum hologram theory of consciousness. So that within the point is the whole universe, or everything you were saying about, well, you described it in a very enfolded way, whether it's spiral after spiral after spiral, or even the way the Hindu number system, which I clearly now will have to go study. I just keep getting this beautiful hologram, like the information for the whole is within each part. It's just an infinitely repeated system. So maybe you can speak to that for us more specifically. If people are coming up with quantum hologram theories of consciousness, what do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, I have. I would like to say two things about hologram, because hologram is a projection, and hologram. I have a static. I have stored this structure, and then hologram means it will be projected. So it is stored somewhere. It is not that there is no memory. There is. Who is the projector? Who is projecting? So the projector has to hold the memory and the information. So holographic theory has one big weakness, because it has to be one point, and then it has to project. So it has to be somewhere stored. Otherwise, projection cannot happen. On contrary, when I'm talking about infinite series, then every single term is a little different. First term is an observation, something. Second term, you shift it a little bit and observe again. You shift another dimension, in another way, and again, and you create an infinite series. And when you do the projection to the infinity, it's much fundamentally different than hologram, because at every single step of this infinite series of observations that you have to the fundamental reality, by shifting it a little bit, and going to the orthogonal space, like you are in a line, go to the area to see it, and then you are in an area, go there. So this is called orthogonal transformation in mathematics. So first is orthogonal transformation, and you observe the shift, what is happening at lower dimensions. You go to the higher dimension and see whatever happened, and what is not changing. That is called invariant. So that is the term I need to bring in. That invariant is also a way we observe nature. That, okay, this is not changing. This is repeating, fine. But why we want to find that something is repeating? I go to movies every Friday night. So that is repeating. Why? Because that is something that is not changing. So there is a term called change. Change is only thing that does not change. So so
Love that.
so so yeah, it's a beautiful way of saying. So I'm finding a loop or periodic loop just to say that, okay, that doesn't change. So the fundamental problem with the holographic concept is that you have one static something, and you project it. Instead, I have some observation, shift it in the orthogonal space, again observe the same thing, and go to the another higher dimension, observe the same thing, and go on in many different ways, and you vary a little, and then go to infinity, and take the feedback from the infinity, and then you observe it. That is your reality. When I'm saying that, that is not related to very much to the hologram, because when I am creating a new thing in the infinite series continuously, and that is not the end. What I'm saying, for an example, C2 symmetry. I say prime numbers are the codes of the universe. So how many elements of codes are there in universe? Astronomical, infinity. Just imagine two. If you cut it by half, this side same. So C2 symmetry, we find 50% of the places in the universe. Then C3 symmetry. C3 symmetry means a flower, it has 3 petals. So that kind of symmetry, 33%, you can do some calculation, 16%. So C2 and C3 symmetry together, 66% of everything that is happening in the universe. Then you come for next prime number is 5. Next prime number is 7. Next prime number is 11. Next prime number is 13. Next 17, 19. 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47. We have not seen more than 47 prime used in the brain. So I restricted myself over there, but it accounts only to 86%. But we can go up to 108 numbers. Why 108 number is so important? Because 12 makes the first triplet. So if I make a triplet of triplet and wants to understand even a little fraction of the whole universe, I need to see 108 dimensions. So that means triplet 12 into 9. 9 is triplet of triplet. I explained in the number system why triplet is fundamental for the unit of consciousness. 1, 0. 1 means 1 unit of consciousness. It's so beautiful. And then you go to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So you got 1 unit of consciousness and you go for observer 2, 3, 5. It's so beautiful. And in after 99, you make 100. So 100 means I mean, 1 unit of duality that you go. That's why when in Indian gods, we have a lot of goddesses, and all goddesses have one number. And when my mother used to do puja or something, 1001 number is for Chandi or Ma Durga or Goddess Durga. So we have very dominating, strong goddesses. And they were like family, so controlling their husband significantly. So they were supreme powerful. So all the goddess, so males used to create the goddess, and then the goddess were so powerful to save the male. So always this kind of narrative was there. But their numbers, if you see, what numbers were always different numbers were assigned to different gods. But God's numbers were 1001. 1 is 00001. 1 is 0000001. So what we do is we keep the identity at both sides and put poor number of completeness that they have. So this is how. That's why, I mean, I was wondering from childhood, they are not the prime numbers, they are not something. Why I have to put 10101? Even if you go and you need to pay money to the temples or something, you give 101. You never give 10, because that doesn't make the God, because God is an one identity that is one more than the humans, because humans can have the realization of one coming into point, but gods have the completeness, one identity and another identity. So they are higher or supreme, and you do it like that. So it was very disturbing for me for many years. So what I'm saying is that when I'm going for this kind of number systems up to astronomical, infinite number of primes are there. Each prime number is generator of an infinite series, like 2 into 2, 4, 4 into 8, or 6, and you add on and go on. 3 also creates another series, which has no similarity with 2. 5 creates another. 7 creates another. Non-primes are made by primes, so we are not concerned about them. But what about primes? And when different primes bring completely different, and I was so curious that how many primes do I need to explain the universe? I found that up to 107, I can see, I can 108, I can see the triplet of triplet, a fraction of the whole universe. But I asked my student, Sudeshna Pramanik, who is doing PhD with me. So I asked her that, why don't you calculate? And she was very desperate to calculate that the contribution of C2 is 50% and 16%, 8%. I want to reach 100%. So how many primes do I need to understand the whole universe, understand the whole? So I can answer to your holographic projection that, okay, holographic projection theory is correct. So I need this number of primes. I will encode in a box and I will project it and I will get the universe. It turns out that even if we take hundreds and thousands of primes, we cannot cross 98, 99% or 97%.
Wow.
So the whole I cannot know. So there is no hologram, no holographic projection or quantum holographic projection or anything. It is much more live, because every single prime brings a whole new universe and its dynamics and then its patterns with it, and they are together, and when they will come you can't predict. Even it's very difficult because it is self-emergent system, of course, that is generating. So that's why when I'm talking about this kind of system, uh, it holographic is a very limited view where you are uh, restricted to a very particular set of information which is projecting. That's why I used fractal brain hypothesis or fractal brain theory in my Breuker brain. And many people object, whoever understand my mathematics and the way I want to understand the universe, they say that I use the word fractal in a very wrong way. That's true, because um, I don't have any proper term. So one of my friend Dave Sontak from US, he came up with the word fractal. He said, if you say fractal, it's misleading to us because
Mm.
we understand self-similarity. Because self-similarity means I have this pain and I go to a smaller scale, I see the pain. I go even smaller scale, I see the pain. But in my case, the pain becomes a different model altogether at a different dimensions and different spaces. So it's you scale up, scale up, scale up. It's a self-emergent system. So it's self-similar to some extent, but it is not the complete picture of it.
So I think what I'm hearing is that the metaphor of the hologram is far from sufficient because
Yes.
first of all, the source is contained in something static, and then it's very simply representation.
It's
And
dead.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that, and probably even if I think Edgar Mitchell saw the source more in the quantum hologram, meaning I think he was putting it in the 0 point fields or the quantum vacuum or what have you, in the zero perhaps. but even still, I think what I'm hearing from you is it's not so simple as a representation because it's so self-organizing that it's novel. It's something novel is continuously emerging. So in
Yes.
some ways, it sounds like if we're searching for a metaphor, kaleidoscope might be the better metaphor.
Yeah. So I would say that uh, mm, the primes are a living. Um, it
Living,
is
I love that.
it's living. Uh, it's lively. You can't have a static metaphor, any static metaphor to explain it. That's why when I say that primes are the fundamental codes of the universe, I do not seek to find out pattern of primes, but how the patterns are making together. So like this. So this
Mm.
is prime numbers are going there, and then how many ways we can arrange. And then I've rotated 3-dimension to create a temple-like structure. So this temple-like structure, my dream is to build. So I took some land in Shimla and I want to build this mathematical primes patterns so that it survives for many years to come. And so mm, uh, so both fractal is limited because in different scales you repeat the same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
hologram is even more limited because you have a set of information and you are trying to project it everywhere. But
Mm-hmm.
what if that every single step you are redefining yourself? with a morphogenesis, with something new, something new, something new. How a scientific model would traverse over there? That's why I was so tired, that all the people in the field of consciousness, they want to say, some people saying that, okay, claustrum is here, like Christoph Koch and others, that is responsible for consciousness. Some people are saying that no, synaptic junction is responsible for consciousness. Some people are saying hippocampus is responsible for consciousness. So everybody is going to the some spatial location. How I started my conversation, it's a completely erroneous view. At a particular space, you need to go to the structure of time, the 3D architecture of time, where you can find. So I created the whole brain. That's why I wanted to talk to you in the lab. So I'm bringing this whole brain model.
Oh, nice. Okay, great.
Okay, so see it here.
I
So each
do.
one of them is neuron, and one of them is microtubule. This one is neuron. And this is the whole. 1024 different clocks are there, and we do not kick out any component, because for us, who are you doesn't matter. How do you vibrate? How do you contribute to the symmetry of vibration? You go beyond time. That you these are the whole clock structure. So different space. So it's a spatio-temporal architecture. So each one is a clock. So somebody who is in the conventional neuroscience, they will say, okay, I have this synaptic junction. This clock is responsible for consciousness. So for us, we have many such components over there, triplet of triplet system. When we 1024 clocks we put together with all the components. But even this is not the true picture of consciousness. These clocks, they change, they switch their position and transition and then mix with each other. And then they start doing this geometrodynamics, that is the 7th dimension to 9th dimension. And even beyond that, the primes are playing a role in regulating those geometric transitions at the highest level of development. There is the, so this is the physical reality. So I'm saying that conventionally, we are not coming to the physical reality, but even if we come to the physical reality, that's just the beginning to understand consciousness. So that's the kind of a thing. That's why I don't see apparently any fractal or self-similarity anywhere. But there is, in the prime dimension, when you go, there is a self-similarity. You will find that something is coming, or something is emerging. Of course, the human body is finitely limited. So we are limited with 108 number of dimensions and primes, and then within this limited code. But we can replicate or emulate 90% of the vibration of the universe inside our body. So that's what makes us conscious. So basically, if you are also made of, say, 108 primes or 96% of any vibration I generate, you can emulate. That means any concept or thoughts that I'm generating it while talking, we never had a plan before today, Valerie, that how we will be talking to each other. What will be the topic for conversation, and what will be the specific questions? I don't know. You don't know what the next question you would ask. We just decided that we should have a conversation from our heart. We will try to understand the whole thing from very different perspective. So how, without any programming, we are able to exchange information and converse with each other? So that is possible because I am made of this kind of architecture of primes and a vibrational system that can generate prime-like vibration, this temple-like architecture of mathematical composition of vibration, and you have the same ability. So whatever I create does not matter. With 86% to 90% or 94% accuracy, you can recreate that concept of Anirban that is generating a new some kind of thoughts, which you had hardly idea about. You are creating it in the mind of Valerie, is a part of the part of the Anirban's thought process. You are matching with Valerie's thought architectures and merging it and then simulating it to the future, creating an infinite series that is not repeating itself and taking feedback from infinity, and that is -1/12 like thing, like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus dot 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 -1/12 is equal to. So you are taking that and you are projecting it on me, that Anirban, I feel like your thing is like this. How is that happening? Isn't this amazing? Isn't this a beautiful and the most profound technology? Humankind is not even close to that.
What this is making me think of is, I know when I was in the 6th grade, I was contemplating atoms. I had first studied about atoms in the 6th grade. And there I was contemplating, and I remember wondering, like, they're depicting them as these little round dots in space. And I was like, well, how does this atom know that it's part of the chair? And how does this atom right next to it know that it's part of me on the chair? And in came this huge download that other experiencers have had something similar. And basically, the download that I received is it was as if something was trying to tell me, in a way, kind of what you're trying to get across. Number one, the aliveness. I mean, you're even talking about, in a way, how alive prime numbers even are, because of their self-growth and self-organizing and all of these new emergent things that are coming. Like, when we realize the sheer indeterminacy of every aspect of the universe, no wonder people like me have no word other than quantum, because that's the close we can get is to something like sheer and undefined and full of ands. But also the aliveness. So for instance, there's many of us that feel like, even whether every atom, every electron, when you see the motion, when you see its ability to adapt, I mean, it all feels full of aliveness. And therefore it has such power in the aliveness. It feels like everything is energy and information of some kind that's growing in all kinds of ways. But then you also introduce the space. And yet, some people will say, well, we're made of 99.99999% space. And yet you can feel the aliveness within the space, kind of coming back to your zero. The thing that is the nothing might actually be the biggest something. And anytime we're thinking of what we think is a little point, it's nothing in comparison. So yeah. I don't know, maybe your thoughts about the aliveness of the space, the aliveness of all these abstract things that we humans, especially Western, want to reduce into a bunch of little things.
Yeah, so it is necessary for us, for all of us, because to find that to learn infinite series from childhood and explore the beauty of it, that incompleteness, non-factual, like logically circular, which are shameful words. We should teach the kids this kind of shameful things. Logically circular is a good thing, because when you are logically circular, know where to go, then you find another logically circular and you bond them together with undefinedness. That is, and when you bind it, how do you bind it? How do you transform it? Like somewhere down the line, I feel the guna or properties like sattva, raja, tama, transformation, bonding, and projection, and acquiring feedback from infinity. So these are the three fundamental qualities. If you try to blend them together and try to observe the infinity, as I said in the second part of your question, that undefinedness, arbitrariness, infinity, singularity, all these kind of terms and terminologies uh, where the clear logical expansion of science ends. We need to bring them. We don't need to hide them. We need to bring them to the kids. As a kid, you are wondering that why the atoms and many different kind of structures inside me, and the chair, we are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, this kind of molecules. I'm alive and it is not. Of course, we do understand what is living and what is non-living. It is recycling itself and other things. But eventually, what you wanted to say actually is that how this code is governing itself. Why is it governing itself? And that's the reason I was so tired. I came up with this new theory. We call it self-operating mathematical universe. So leave space, leave time, leave morphogenesis, come to the world of primes and try to derive from those primes everything that we see the geometric shape. So don't go from one dimension to two dimension to three dimension to four dimension to five dimension to up to 11th dimension to 12th dimension. Rather than start from the 12th dimension and derive one dimension. So come from 12 to 11 to 10 to 9 to 8. So this is the way when our thought process has to be rebuilt.